Hey everybody, today I'll be taking a look at Maharaja. My box says Raja because it's the German version. So let's just dive in. I'm gonna show you a 5-player game because this game plays best with 4 or 5 players. So at the beginning of the game, every player can choose one of these roll cards. Now they each have a unique ability, which I will explain after I've explained the game, so they are more clear. But basically they also decide turn order and they break ties. So this one has no ability at all. This one has a decent, has a bit of an ability, but the abilities get better, and the best ability is for the 6th card. But this card will mean you're always last in turn order and you always lose every tile. While this has no ability, but you go first and you win every tie against everybody. So everybody chooses one of these, and then the player with the lowest number starts. After turn order is decided, every player in turn order will place one of these houses. Everybody gets 4 little houses. They will place it in turn order on the board in those little villages that you can see. There can only be 2 houses in a village. Alright, so all the players placed their 4 houses and then the game can start. First, all players receive 15 gold, 6 houses in their personal pool and 7 palaces. And then the game really begins. So how does every round work? At the start of the round you're gonna look at this governor's track. You're gonna look at the governor that's on the bottom. Right now is this light blue one. And that's where the Maharaja will go this turn. So we have the Maharaja is this big black piece. As you can see, it's a lot bigger than the other player pieces. So the Maharaja travels to Jodhpur. And then that governor goes from the bottom all the way to the top. So as you can see, it will take a while before we go back to that city again. Then all the players have this little wheel and they select 2 of actions simultaneously. You can select the same action twice, and when you're done you put it face down in front of yourself. When everybody's done, we reveal and we go in character order based on who took what tile, like I said earlier. So let's say red is first. On your turn you can travel as much as you want and do your actions. So he has chosen building a palace up here, and here he has chosen building 2 houses. Now, like I said, you can travel unlimited as long as you can pay it. For example, this is red. He can travel to here for free, because every village he goes, there is a red house. But if there's not, let's say over here, when he travels to the orange city, this one is free, but here he has to pay 1 gold to yellow and 1 gold to blue. If we would do this, for example, it's 2 to black and 1 to yellow, because here 1 for black and there 1 for black, 1 for yellow. But if you have 1 house there, it's free. So this is a free travel. And if there are no houses for, let's say, this route, then you just can't go there. So this route, it's impossible. You can only travel if there are houses. And if there are no houses of yourself, you have to pay every player that has a house there. But you can travel unlimited as long as it's allowed and you can pay it. So he could do this, build his palace here, then travel there and build a house there, and then even keeping travel to there. For example, you can travel as much as you want as long as you can pay it. But so he has chosen building 1 palace and 2 houses, of which 1 must be in a city. So he travels to this city first. He builds the palace there in the center, because I will explain more later, but the center palace is a lot more valuable than the surrounding ones. And then for his 2 houses, he built 1 in the city and he built 1 over here in a village. Okay, also when you build a palace or a house in a city, your architect must be in that city. So the village you can place wherever you want, but he couldn't build, let's say, a house there. Only if his architect is there. So that was his turn. Don't forget, I don't know if I mentioned, but palaces cost 12 gold to build and houses 1. So you start with 15 gold, he just spent 14. You have to pay 12, 1, 1. So keep that in mind. Next is yellow. Yellow has chosen building a palace and a house, as you can see, and getting 2 gold from the bank. So he gets 2 gold from the bank, so he's up to 17. And then building a palace and a house costs 13, so he's down to 4 gold left. He pays it, but he's gonna get to build a palace and a house. So yellow also travels to that city, but he has to pay 1 gold to red and 1 to blue. Then he builds also a house there and a palace there. So this costs 13, 14, 15. He has to pay 15 this round. So that's actually all his money, but he got 2 from the bank. Next up is green. Green is gonna build a palace and change the order of the governor track. What this action does, you can take 1 governor on this track and pull him down 2 spaces. And he's gonna choose the green one and pull him down 1, 2. So he's down there. Gaps are no problem, those will fix themselves eventually. So next round the Maharaja will come to this green city, and look, he has built his houses over there, because what's he gonna do? He's gonna travel over there, and his other action was building a palace, so he pays 12 gold and he builds the center palace in this town. Next up is blue. He has building a palace and a house, so he pays 13, and switching role character cards with a player. I will explain this also. So first he travels also to that city. As you can see, he pays 1 to yellow, 1 to red, and he pays 12 for actually pays 13 because he had a palace and a city building. So he builds this. He builds this, and then he switched character cards. Now as you can see, there are 6, since there are 5 players. There will be, let's say they all took this, the 4 didn't get taken. So let's say these are the roles that are in play, and let's say since he was the not last but the one who goes before last, so he had this one, he can now switch. And he switches with green, who had this one. So he gets this role, and then green can choose taking blue's role or the one that was left over. So green gets a choice, but green's role gets taken by blue. I will explain later why he did that, and I'm gonna explain what they do. So that was blue turn. Next is black, and what did he do? Also change the order of the governors and building a palace. So he's gonna pay 12 for the palace, but let's see what he does. He's gonna pick this orange dude and move him 2 down. So blue is now very mad at black, because what's black gonna do? He has the same ID, he has built houses over there, so he moves there for free, and then he pays 12 for his black palace over there. Now and that's the first round. That's actually how it plays. Everybody chooses 2 actions, does them, and then I have display rate. Mine is in German, but then you go to the city where the Maharaja is, and then you look at this chart. If you are with 5 players, which is now the case, the winner of the city gets 13 gold from the Maharaja as a reward for building. The second gets 10 gold, 7, 4, 1, and so on. Now how is a city scored? It's very simple. The center palace is worth 3 points. The other palaces are worth 1 point. Houses are worth 1 point. And having your architect still in the city when the Maharaja visits is also 1 point. Red has 5 points because this is 3 points, 1.11. Yellow has 3 and blue has 3. So then ties are broken by the turn order, so by these cards, and this was red and this was yellow, so actually yellow came first, so that's why yellow didn't build more houses in this city, because he thought, second place I will always win from blue. But blue has taken this role, and what this role does is other palaces are worth 2 points instead of 1, so actually this gives him 2, so blue becomes second. So red gets 13 gold this turn, blue gets 10 and yellow gets 7, and black and green get nothing, because they have nothing in that city, then you get nothing. Alright, next, then the round is over, they get their gold. Again, for the next round we look at the bottom, it's the orange city, so the Maharaja goes to the orange city. This governor goes again way up, and the next round starts. So every player selects 2 actions, they go in their character order, and all this happens all over again. So as you can see, black has now a head start in the city because he already has 3 points there. When does the game end? The game is actually a race. The game ends when you build 7 palaces. So every player starts with 7 of these little glass rocks. When you build those all 7, you win. You do end the round. If more than one player has built 7 palaces in that round, you look at money. The player with the most money wins, and if it's still a tie, then you look at these character tiles, and the lower tile wins the game. So it's actually a race. Most of the time I find people get their 7 palace in the 8th or 9th round. Either way, as you can see, these governors also keep track. It always ends in the 10th round, and then the player with most palaces wins, even if he only has 6, for example. In a tie you look at money, is there still a tie, look at character, still the same. But in my experience that won't happen. Almost every time a player gets 7 in round 7, 8 or 9, and eventually in 10 in the worst case scenario. That's how the game plays. A little more. I only have actually used this ability. The other abilities also get used before. This, like I said, doesn't have an ability. You just go first and win all ties. This one, you get a free coin every turn. So actually yellow got a coin. I didn't, this wasn't a run through, just an overview of the rules. This one I explained though. Outer palaces are worth 2 points instead of 1. This lets you travel for free, as you can imagine, really handy, but the other players still receive gold. So let's say blue had this and he traveled from there to there. He wouldn't have to pay anyone because he has the traveling monk, I believe is the name of this style. But here red gains 1 from the bank, yellow gains from the bank. Here he travels free no matter what. Here black and green get 1 from the bank. So the players still receive the gold, just not from you but from the bank. So it's handy, but it's not that overpowered as you might think, because you're making other players richer. This one lets you put out a free house or move a house for free on your turn. So really good. And this one is really the most powerful because you build a palace for only 9 gold, and normally a palace costs 12. So what you're actually trying in this game, because it's a race to build all palaces, is you try to build a palace every turn, and if you succeed, this one saves you 3 gold every turn. So that's a lot more powerful than this style, which only gives 1 gold. The action, as you can see, are very clear. I explained actually most of them already. So building a palace, this is getting 2 houses from the supply. This is moving a house, building 2 houses, building 1 house, changing this governor track, which I did twice, so I explained it. Getting 2 gold, changing characters roles, I explained, building a palace and a house, and building a palace. So these actions are very clear, very easy. Now you might ask, why is there building a palace and a house? Why is there 2 houses and only 1 house? Well, if you can't do all your actions, like because of money problems most of the time, so when you want to do this, you will need 15 money, 15 gold. if for some reason your plans get blocked because somebody steals your character tile, for example, let's say you could do this if you have this tile and you're counting your palace only costs 9, but somebody steals that tile, then your plans are ruined and you can't do this action or this, for example. When you can't do your actions, all other players gain 2 gold from the bank. So this is a really fun aspect of the game. You have to really take risks, take chances. It's very hard. Money is always extremely tight, as you can imagine. You just want to build those palaces fast, but they are expensive. They cost 12 gold. But you get gold by winning in cities, but then you have to also build palaces and you have to win. So as you can see, there's a lot happening. This track gets changed, so the Maharaja doesn't always go where you want him to. Like right now, he's going to here, and as you can see, Black has a huge lead. Black will probably win now because those 3 points make it easy. And next round he will go to the green city, and they are green already as a lead, so they are kind of behind right now, but they will catch up. And next city will, after this, you see this will move up, and the track has changed. So normally afterwards they will go to that black city where Black can easily go already. So Black has actually, he was last in turn order, but he planned it out really nicely, so he will have some good turns. And green also, by building this here. He also travels from here to there for free, so he's also actually set up for the next turns. And I think I've explained the game, almost everything. There are some advanced rules, of course, but time for my overview. First of all, the good things. There's no randomness, there are no dice, no cards. There is chaos because this track changes, you switch roles and stuff like that, so you don't really know what's happening. Also, I mentioned money is tight, you get money from this, but building a great network gives also lots of money. If other players if you build a lot of houses and players constantly use them, they keep paying you, so that's also a good way to gain lots of money. So that's another thing I really like. It's a combination of area majority and network building, and these two mechanics are combined so nicely, so fun, so well. It's what makes the game fun, building your network, traveling in an efficient way, and then getting majorities in these cities. And like Red has now an advantage here, and don't forget, the city will score again, especially if he's gonna move this one 2 down. Eventually we're gonna visit that city again, so that's also something to think of. What I like, this game is also prone for analysis paralysis, kind of, because there's a lot to think about, but because the phase where you think is simultaneously, everybody chooses these 2 actions at the same time, so it's not so bad because of that. Everybody does this at the same time, and then actually doing these actions, once you select them, you're stuck with them, goes pretty fast. So there's some analysis paralysis, but you don't feel it because the thinking happens simultaneously, so the game moves really fast. There's lots of interaction, which you can easily deduce by my overview of the rules. There is no victory point track, which is refreshing for a Eurogame. You know, it's a race building those 7 palaces, and the game is very dynamic, which I also like. Everything changes constantly. Minus points is the mean player interaction. I love it, but some players don't like it, that they get screwed because of this, or you know, taking their role at a crucial time. You can really mess with each other. Some people don't like it, I love it. And there's one more problem, it's the ending can be anticlimactic for some players, because in my first game, and that's why I rate this game pretty heavy, a 4, medium heavy, although it isn't that complicated. I played this the first time, was a 4-player game. Me and my buddy are board gaming pros or experts, or I don't want to brag, but we play a lot of board games, and other 2 were newbies, kind of new to the hobby. Still, they have played some games, some game nights, but never something heavy. and I thought this was a medium game, but let me tell you, let's say it was round 5 or 6, and me and my buddy both had 6 palaces, so it was really exciting. What a race, who is gonna win? But they, I think, one had 3 palaces and the other 4. So for them the game was already over. It wasn't exciting anymore. For us it was. We both had 6, and who's gonna get that 7th first? But they were out of the race very soon, because yeah, the game is heavier than it seems, I guess, because they got hurt that bad. And let's say when this happens, it's very anticlimactic for them. They already know they can't win, and they can become kingmakers. You know, they can decide who will win if they want to. But they were nice players. They just kept playing for themselves, and I won, of course. Kidding. But yeah, it can be. I imagine in a 5-player game, it's possible that in a round, 2 players already have 6, so they can win. But the other 3. It's possible they see I can't. It's impossible for me to win or catch up, and that's not fun for them. So that's actually what keeping this game for giving it a perfect 10. But still a great game, a very fun Euro, great combination of area majority and network building, route building. Thanks you guys for watching. See you later.